Hi everybody, this is Luke McNally coming up on Made in Maine. We are off to the races. If you like racing at all, you're going to love this show. We've got it all covered, from SCCA rally sport racing to motocross of all different kinds. NASCAR action here at Beech Speedway, which is New England's premier short track. Oh yeah, if you like racing at all, you'll want to stay tuned for this next lap on Made in Maine.
Major funding for production of Made in Maine is provided by Key Bank and McDonald Financial Group, together providing financial services to help businesses and individuals reach their goals, statewide and at key.com. By the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, whose Maine Products Marketing Program introduces Maine's businesses to the world, on the web at mainemade.com. And by the members of Maine PBS, helping us tell the stories of business in Maine for 17 years.
The world of racing, professional racing, is of course worldwide. Everything from go-karts to Indy cars to NASCAR. But I'll bet you didn't realize just how close we are here in the state to the racing circuit itself. We're going to learn something about that in this edition of Made in Maine that we're calling Off to the Races. We're going to look for the green flag in a couple of interesting locations, like a motocross park where people are jumping to brand new heights. I think you'll like it. And I'm here at the Beech Motor Speedway right here in Scarborough for the NASCAR Modifieds. There's not only going to be racers from the track here, hometown racers, but racers from all over New England participating later on today. But before we do that, we want to send you off to the Sports Car Club of America's Maine Forest Rally. Now here's a special brand of racing which occurs on Maine's logging roads. It's a bit of a wild and bumpy ride, so hang on, buckle up in Rumford.
Right 5-minded, over jump, 120. Yep. 14 years ago, Carl Merrill from Agunquit in Bethel, he and I decided that we try to put a rally on the back roads in Maine. We know that the countryside is beautiful and the dirt roads are very nice and twisty and lovely. So we approached what was Boise Cascade Paper Company at that time, and to make a long story short, the paper companies agreed that it was a good multi-use of their lands, and so we've been using their roads to race on ever since.
Performance rally, like we compete in, has a rigid time framework where we have what are called transit sections and then stage sections. And the transit sections are parts of roads that we drive to get from one place to the other following all normal laws and so forth on public roads. And then we get to a closed stage and we drive that as fast as we can. Each car starts usually a minute apart, and the fastest car basically over the whole number of stages, cumulative time, wins. Driving the car quickly down a rally road, it involves close cooperation between the driver and the co-driver. Dave refers to me as a wheel twiddler, and he's actually driving the car. He has a book with a description of the road that he's reading to me, features of the road before we get there. And the idea is to allow me to go faster. In other words, to start turning before I get to the turn, so that I can drive, set up the car before we get there and allow us to go quicker. We have rocks and noise, lots of noise, and constant corrections with the car as we're going. It's usually hot, days like this, extremely hot and difficult. So we're constantly, Dave's constantly talking in my ear through the intercom, and I'm working as hard as I can to keep the car where it needs to be and between the trees. And our energy is 100% focused when we're on the stage, because at the speeds we're going, it's you know, we can't really afford a mistake.
The teamwork between a rally driver and a co-driver is based on 100% trust.
Small crest 200.
The co-driver has to trust that the driver is going to keep the car on the road while he's driving as fast as he can go. The driver has to trust that the co-driver knows where they are on the course, and you're coming to a crest, you can't see where the road goes. Co-driver's reading, and he says there's a 90-degree left 50 yards after this crest. So the driver is going probably 70 down this little road, and he's got to start turning the car left before he can even see where the road goes, or you're not going to make it. So if that's not trust, I don't know what is. The typical speeds that you reach on these little logging roads, like up here, we're going to be up in the Aquasic Rangeley area on paper company roads that are closed off. And we'll do a stretch of road that's 9 miles, 15 miles, 22 miles, and the average speeds will be over 60. That's the average. And these are these little dirt roads that people in Maine know, and most people think that going 30 is really flying. And most people drive at 15.
Racing a car like this it's a much different mindset than track racing. We have so many variables that we're trying to control during the weekend. We have a long race usually over 2 days with multiple service stops. We're racing down undeveloped roads, dirt roads, snow, ice, mud, all weather, and we're trying to drive as fast as we can. So there's a big element of risk, but our job is to control as many variables as we can and get to the finish. It's mentally challenging and fatiguing. At the end of a rally weekend, it takes us probably a couple weeks to recover from the whole ordeal, from the prep time before we get to the event to in through the end. It's very difficult.
Rallying is a sport that you have to do to get involved with. It's not like there aren't really rally schools you can go to. There are a few. Tim O'Neill has one in south of Gorham, New Hampshire. But for the most part, you need to come to a rally and find out what it's about. Like come to the Maine Forest, spectate, help out somebody, and then they'll give you a taste of what it's like. That'll tell you whether you're interested at all in it. It's not necessarily the cheapest sport because your car has to have certain safety equipment and gasoline's expensive, tires are expensive, but it's an extremely exciting and interesting sport.
The thing that really keeps people involved in rally racing as a crew, as a driver and co-driver, is that experience of the trust. I mean, once you experience it, you just want to keep coming back and doing it more and more because it's just so satisfying. And it's as if the best days you have, you don't even feel like you're trying that hard. You're relaxed, you're in the car, you are utterly, totally focused on what you're doing, where you're going, when you need to be there, what's coming down on the road, what's in the middle of the road, where are the rocks, where is it slippery, just all that, and it just comes by you like this, and it's dust behind you, and you finish the section, and you're like, oh, I can't believe we just did that. I can't believe that what we just did is legal.
Now that is some racing. Fast, furious, in your face, but we have more. We're at the Beech Ridge Motor Speedway now, and here's Andy Cusack, the owner and CEO. How you doing, Andy?
Great, Lou.
Good to see you today. This track has been around for quite some time, hasn't it?
It has. It's been around, this is the 56th season. It's been open since it was built.
Now there's other tracks in the state and in New England that are pretty much copied right off of this one, right?
Pretty much every track in the state of Maine is a similar size and configuration to Beech Ridge, and part of that is because when Beech Ridge was built in '48 and opened up and got running, it was the first track. We actually have 4 different products that we offer. The staple, or core product, is our Saturday NASCAR Night Series, where local drivers compete for our local NASCAR awards, plus regional and national bonuses on top of that. We also have a Thursday Thunder Series, 10 Thursdays during the summer, that's very popular. We have a Car Wars Series that's going to be brand new this year, opening on Friday nights, which is kind of a racing like a roller derby, if you can picture that. And the final series is the real crazy one, happens 3 times a year, called Day of Destruction. And that's when pretty much anything goes out here. It's like a demolition derby in a different format.
Oh, cut it out.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of changes, of course, we know in the automobiles themselves, but there's been changes in the tracks. They're much bigger. You know, we got the Daytonas and the Loudons and things like that. Have you been able to keep up with the sport itself, even with this short track?
We're actually the minor leagues to the major leagues. So Beech Ridge is to NASCAR what the Sea Dogs would be to the Red Sox.
All right.
It's a chance for drivers to come out, try to develop their skills, see if they have what it takes, and if they enjoy it enough to advance to another level. If they do, they can move to a regional touring series here in New England, which the cars are a little more powerful. They get to race on a variety of racetracks, so they hone their skills a bit more. If they're good enough there, they might advance to a Southern Series for NASCAR, and eventually work their way to the Ultimate Series that I think every person hopes they will get to race with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson and some of those drivers that we see so much on Sunday afternoon now.
And this is where they start?
Every driver today that you see on a Sunday afternoon on television in the big league started at a Beech Ridge somewhere in the country.
What kind of technical changes have you had to go through to keep up with the sport?
The bigger challenge that we've had in southern Maine has been the extreme growth of population here and business population. So there's a lot more competition now for a leisure time activity than there used to be when Beech Ridge was built 50 years ago. So now we're really up against the wall with all the restaurants that are available in Greater Portland, even the shopping malls, all the little shopping plazas, all the amusement parks, and even video rentals. And the fact that you can sit at home today and order a show on TV and never leave your house. There's a lot more competition. So we have to do our job a lot better than we ever did before. We have to be as entertaining as those forums or better, and I hope we're better.
Sounds like you not only have a passion for the business, but a passion for the sport itself.
I do. I'm a huge race fan, and I'm also a huge business fan, so I get the best of both worlds here. I really enjoy business. But as much as that, and then the first thing that ever happened was I enjoyed racing, and my parents were here when the track opened in 1949. My dad was racing by the end of that season and enjoyed a long career, over 30 years in it, before my parents actually purchased the track in the early 1980s. And at that point, you know, I was here every Saturday night watching my dad race cars. So I grew up in these grandstands, and I still know where my seat is over there. I could walk to it right now, where I sat every single Saturday night. And I still get an adrenaline rush when the motors fire and a full field of cars come out here and they take the green flag. I love every second of it.
Well, we're going to learn a little bit more about that in just a little while, and I understand there's a rumor going around I might be able to take that pace car out for a little spin around the block. We'll see. But first of all, we want to introduce you to another kind of racing. This is one where the vehicle often leaves the ground with dirt flying everywhere. Not something you usually see here at Beech Ridge, but you do where we're sending you right now. Let's join with the folks at Valley Motorsports Park in Norridge Walk. Have you seen the fastest growing sport on the Maine landscape yet? Well, it's motocross, and its presence is starting to dot Maine's countryside from the original Bull Run in Green to Skowhegan, Eden Mountain, Howland, Minot, and now with newer tracks in Lyman, Madawaska, and here at Valley Motorsports in Norridge Walk. It's a family-oriented sport which includes camping, camaraderie, and competition involving not only the youth, but the moms and dads. They also participate as riders, while also getting the opportunity to be coach, crew chief, cook, and family team cheerleader.
It's definitely a family sport. Everybody gets involved. You see everything from neighbors to grandparents to aunts and uncles to friends. It's definitely a family environment.
I've been racing for 24 years. I started riding in 1980. Now I ride the 30 and over expert class. I raced in the NESC and the expert class for a couple of years before retiring and just riding in Maine. We've been able to improve, you know, on some of the jumps and some of the technical spots on the track, watching the way different style riders ride and being able to improve and, you know, make a spot maybe a little safer or make it a little bit more challenging for them. We change at least something every race. add a different jump, or we'll change a corner or two. Riders like that type of thing. Our 4 to 9 class is growing a lot because of the interest, in the sport, and the younger riders are starting to ride at an earlier age now too.
Excited riders come in all ages and sizes, competing for trophies in about 20 different classes, starting with the 50cc 4-year-olds to the expert veterans classes.
I like the thrill, the excitement, the adrenaline. It's just a lot of fun, jumping and blasting around corners and things like that. Motorcycles made for going fast in the dirt and going over jumps, and we all get together and race, usually, up to 42 of us at a time.
I started racing when I was 17 and rode quite a lot before that, and watched my brother race when I was younger, and he's the one that basically got me into it, and I'm still racing, and I'm 33. Going over this jump, approximately, I would say 50 to 55 miles an hour. And there's a couple other sections that you really get going. But in the corners and all, you're not reaching much more than a 30, 35 mile an hour average. We make sure everybody's got helmet, full protective gear, riding boots, pants, knee pads, chest protectors, goggles, gloves for the event.
Well, when I got my 4-wheeler, I decided I wanted to race. I used to have a dirt bike, but I think I crashed it, so I didn't want to do it anymore.
I'm racing my 85 in the expert class. I also have a 100 that I'm racing in the 105 class and the 125 youth amateur. Well, I've raced in 50cc's, 65s, and 85s. I'm an expert in the 85A class. I worked my way up.
Well, I raced in the 79 and 50 open class, and usually I get pretty good places. My favorite part about the race is when you go off all the jumps.
I had an older friend that raced, and I went to one of his races once, and it looked cool, and my dad just asked me, and I just started riding, and a couple years later I started racing. And I ride in the 85A, the 105 Open, the 125 Youth A, and the 125 Youth Amateur. When somebody passes you and you go back and forth and you battle it out, it's pretty sweet. It's fun. It's mostly corners and who holds the throttle on more to the corner. If I get a bad hole shot off the gate, and I usually have to work to get past people.
We all have our ways of, some people pray before they start or whatever. We all have our special little tricks. I just hold it wide open and hope I get there first.
The sport's never had the opportunity to grow in the state of Maine. There's only been a limited number of facilities to race that. And now there's more to offer people, so they don't need to go out of state and spend the big money anymore. They can stay in the state of Maine and get the same quality of racing.
You won't find any electoral college campus anywhere, but for Bangor entrepreneurs John and Marcia Diamond, electoral college has been a golden opportunity.
That was 1988 when we had the idea, but in 1994 we actually decided to pursue it. And the first thing we did was to talk to Jake Ward at the University of Maine, who works with startup businesses and established businesses to try to link university resources to them.
We involved the lawyer in drawing up a business plan and got some friends basically, and some friends of friends who invested some money initially to get us started.
With a registered trademark in hand, the business soon got off the ground and then soared in the year 2000.
As of Election Day in 2000, when I did an interview on C-SPAN about the idea, from that point on it was nonstop, around the clock for weeks. And by the time it was all said and done, I think we had sold over 10,000 items. We were on the Today Show, we were in all the national newspapers, and pretty much established the brand. Between the university and Eastern Maine Development Corporation, we got tremendous assistance and a crash course in how to do a business and what to do right and what to avoid.
When the business became too big for them, the University of Maine introduced the Diamonds to business school graduates Ashley Perry and Andrea Duquette, who have now taken over management and operations.
The first thing that we said we wanted to do is update the website. We wanted to have a new shopping cart that would be easier to use and add some more features to the website that would be more up to date.
It gives me a lot of experience in every aspect I can think of in business. I don't know one aspect that we haven't covered here. We work on marketing, management, accounting. We do everything.
Oh yeah, that's a job I could do. If you want to see what it's really about, Saturday nights is when you want to come down to Beech Ridge. And here's Andy Cusack, the CEO and owner of the track. How you doing, Andy?
Great, Lou. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having us by today.
You're welcome.
What a treat. Now, tell us about Saturday nights. There's something special, aren't they?
Sure. Saturday nights are typical what we call a NASCAR night. It's all local NASCAR drivers. Today is kind of an extra special treat. We've got a touring series in here from all across New England, as far south as Pennsylvania and Rhode Island, some of these NASCAR modified drivers. So it's going to be a great show, and you're getting to see a little bit of everything, all the local drivers plus some of the next tier up NASCAR drivers that are trying to head their way to Daytona eventually.
So it's a good place to bring the family?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's always been a great local spot, you know, a great place to take the family out for a night of fun.
What times do you get going?
Usually at 6 o'clock, and the main events start at 7:30.
Sounds great. Now listen, I'd like to talk to a driver. Can you hook me up?
Oh, I've got a great driver for you, a multi-time champion. He's from Wyndham. His name's Bobby Babb, and he drives in our NASCAR Pro Series.
All right, where would I find him?
Let's go over to the pit and we'll take a look at him.
Over to the pit. I like that. And here we have Bobby Babb. How are you, Bobby?
Doing pretty good.
Three-time winner here at Beech Ridge, right?
Yeah, we've done quite well over the last 5 or 6 years, but been here a long time.
How long have you been racing here?
It started 25 years ago. It was July 3rd, 1979.
Let's talk about the car for a minute.
Yep.
I mean, there's basically nothing here that's stock that you'd find on a regular car in a showroom, right?
No, you know, the body, rear end, fuel cell, everything is specially made for racing. The engine block, the heads, probably the crankshaft are both the only thing that are stock on it. Not much else.
Now, what about the other cars in the class? How tightly controlled are the rules?
Motor-wise, everybody can do a certain amount to their motor. Some guys do more than others, and it's.
But there's a limit to what.
Yeah, there's a certain limit. You go to that limit, and if you cross it, you get caught out, and they'll take your points, take your money, and take your parts.
No, you don't want to do that.
No. No.
Now, I had a chance to take the pace car around, ripped it a few times. A couple of things I noticed right away was I was having trouble holding the corners at 50, 55. You're going to be going a little faster than that, right?
Yeah, we run right around 100 miles an hour down the straightaways. And it only takes 15 and a half seconds to get around here in one of these, and everything happens quick. We got a lot wider tire than the pace car does. It's softer, more power. Plus the shock and spring setup makes you get through the corner and get off the corner. But as far as the actual feel, I know my car, it doesn't lay over nothing like the pace car would, and you know, you're trying to fall out of the seat and that, and I've got a pretty good seat and everything in this that holds you right there. Everybody is so equal that the car has to make up for it. It's about 90% car. No matter how good you are, if the car is no good, you're no good.
most of the drivers here, they just take care of their own cars, or do we have pit crews going on, things like that?
Pretty much every team here has their own pit crew. There's a few that have one guy or two guys, but we have 4 or 5 guys here at the track, and I have 2 guys in the shop that are, you know, it's just volunteer a couple nights a week or whatever. Normally on this level, not too many people are paid.
Yeah.
I wish you could pay them, but because it's a big commitment to them and their families. But
yeah. Well, I'm going to let you get back to work. You say you're going to do well tonight, but I know you got work to do. You got those coil things and the springs and the setup. And good luck to you.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, it looks like our edition of Made in Maine is coming to its own checkered flag. Hope you enjoyed it. We've seen it all, haven't we? From pounding logging roads to the flat tracks, the dirt, the paved ovals. We got it all right here. Whether it's wild motocross action at Valley Motorsports Park or SCCA rally racing through the woods of Maine, or the fine fun and family entertainment that you can get right here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway, 56 years young. It's all made in Maine. Now, you know you can always catch us on the web. For more details, log on to mainepbs.org. This is Lou McNally. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join us again for another edition of Made in Maine.
Major funding for production of Made in Maine is provided by Key Bank and McDonald Financial Group, together providing financial services to help businesses and individuals reach their goals, statewide and at key.com. By the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, whose Maine Products Marketing Program introduces Maine's businesses to the world, on the web at mainemade.com. And by the members of Maine PBS, helping us tell the stories of business in Maine for 17 years.